Hey guys, welcome to WPF Tutorials. Today we're going to be talking about dependency properties in WPF. So the best way to get through this dependency property discussion is to take a step back and first talk about CLR properties. So CLR properties usually consist of a private variable with getters and setters which set the value of the private variable and do some other custom logic. So first what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a custom stack panel that I have here, and I'm going to just put a simple isPurple property in it. And this is just a CLR property, not a dependency property. And so what this is going to do is it's going to change the background color of the stack panel to purple if we set it to true. So let's go ahead and try to use this. I'm going to declare a local namespace, and that's going to point to WPF application 1. Now I should be able to access local and my stack panel that I just created. And so I'll create a couple of text blocks. And there should be an isPurple property on here. And let's go ahead and set it to true. And there we go. So this shows that the isPurple property is working correctly. So that's just a simple CLR isPurple property. So one drawback of CLR properties is that they're actually taking up memory in the application whether they ever get changed from their default values or not. Some controls and objects specify over like 50 properties, many of which I know I've never changed from the default values. So this brings us to dependency properties. Dependency properties are only actually created when used, which means that if a button has over 100 properties, only the dependency properties that are changed from their default metadata values actually use up memory. So let's get right into what a dependency property definition looks like. For the first example, I want to simply show how we can recreate the isPurple property as a dependency property. So let's insert the dependency property snippet. Let me comment this out. And I'm going to right click and go to Insert Snippet, go to WPF, and add a dependency property registration. Ugh. If you're anything like me, this and this look pretty much the same. So what I have found here is things make a lot more sense when I break them down and go through them step by step. So let's do that real quick. So we're going to create our first dependency property from scratch. So what I can do is I can just remove all of this, and I'm going to create a public shared isPurple property as dependency property. So the first thing you may notice is that the dependency property definition is shared. So why is that? Well, what we're doing is we're only defining the property as opposed to using up memory by actually creating the property and storing its value. This way, the dependency property is defined only once and not each time a new instance of the object is created, thus using up less memory along the way. The next thing you may notice is that we're declaring the dependency property with the name isPurple property. Declaring the dependency property name by ending it in property is pretty much a standard convention in WPF just to maintain consistency in naming. So now we actually want to register the dependency property. So what we're going to do is we're going to call dependency property.register, and the first parameter it calls for is the name. Now this is going to be the name that the users of the property will refer to it by, which is going to be isPurple. Next, we're going to give it the type the property expects to get and return. In this case, it's going to be Boolean. Then we'll give it the type of the owner, or basically the name of the class you'll be using the property on, which is my stack panel. Now you'll see that the next parameter expected is of type property metadata. in which case we're going to give it a new instance of framework property metadata. And you'll notice here there's a lot of different overloads for this object. And we're just going to use one of the simpler ones first, where we just give it the default value of false. Let's make this a little easier to read. Now we need to have a way to access the dependency property. And for this we have a property wrapper. This allows our dependency property to be used as if it were just a plain property. So let's go ahead and call this public property is purple as Boolean. So what we need to do here now is return the result of get value, and we need to pass in our dependency property, which is purple property. And we need to cast that to a Boolean. And for the set, we need to set the value of the dependency property by passing in the isPurple property and the value we want to set it as. So let's go ahead and run this and see what happens. So we have isPurple as false right now, so that's good. Now let's set it to true. And so it's still white here, it's not purple. What we need to do here is define something called a property changed callback. And all that we need to do is define a method named isPurplePropertyChanged. So I'm going to create a private shared sub and call it isPurplePropertyChanged. And this method expects a dependency object as well as a dependency property changed event args. So as you'll see here, the dependency object can be cast to the object we're putting the dependency property on. So let's demo a variable called MSP of type myStackPanel, and then we're going to cast the dependency object that's being passed in as myStackPanel. And then for the event args, what we can do is we can cast e.newValue to type Boolean. And if that is equal to false, then we're going to set our background to white, and we're going to set the isPurple property to false. Otherwise, we're going to set msp.background equal to brushes.purple and set isPurple to true. So now all we need to do is pass the address of the method to the framework property metadata object, so the dependency property system can call isPurplePropertyChanged when it's ready. And we should be able to compile this, and hopefully our stack panel is purple, and it is. So change it to false, change it back to true, and that's a dependency property, and it's even working in the designer view, which is great. So that is actually it for today, guys. Today, hopefully you have a better understanding of how to create a dependency property in WPF. If you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, please leave those below the video. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and thank you very much, and see you guys next time.